Hi everyone, Matt again from Academia. And today we're looking at the formal letter structure. Sorry about that. We're looking at the formal letter structure today. And as we can see, this is the question that we have here. You are writing to a real estate agent about a disputed bond. So as we can see, with the real estate agent, this definitely makes it a formal letter. And so we want to write down the three key points here. Firstly, the purpose, and our goal is, with the disputed bond, to make sure that we can get that money back. So the person that we're writing to, the receiver, is obviously the real estate agent. And so for us, in this situation, we're a person renting, a tenant, so we want to get our money back. So there is a big difference between the formal letter, which we're looking at today, and the informal letter, which we'll look at in another video as well. With a formal letter, we're talking to somebody that we don't know, someone we've probably never met. And so this has to have very specific language. We're not going to talk to this person like they're a friend, because if we're writing to a friend or a close family member, then that's looking at an informal letter. So to start the letter, it's always good to start with something like this. Dear Sir, Madam, or to whom it may concern, something that shows some respect there and that we don't have that close relationship with them. And then these are the three key points that we are going to talk about in the letter. So they will go into the body here, but firstly, we need to introduce ourselves. That's the most important thing, so that they know who we are, where we're from. And for the second point as well, we want to talk about describing the situation. So with a formal letter, you can put these two paragraphs together into one paragraph, or you can keep them separate. So today we're separating them. So I'll just write down the key points there. So the first one, as we mentioned, is to introduce ourselves. And then the next one, that one there, describe the situation. So what I'll do now is I'll write down a couple of different expressions that we can use to start these paragraphs. And then I'll come back and talk about that a little bit further. Okay, so as we can see here, when we introduce ourselves, it's always good to say, my name is, or I am, and make sure that we put our name in there. That's so important when we're writing a formal letter, especially regarding this issue of getting our bond back. We need to make them know who we are. It's so important in the formal letter. And then after that, because this one is about a place where we're living, it's always good to put where we are living so that they can then have reference, obviously, back to our file, and that would be so important in the formal letter structure there. With the second one here, the situation, as we mentioned before, these two can definitely go together in just one paragraph. So we want to say something like, I'm writing in regard to, or I'm writing regarding, or this letter concerns, something that shows what the letter is specifically about. So they know who we are, and then they know what the purpose of our letter is. And that really is the key point in that letter. So the next 2 points that we have here about providing possible solutions, which comes back to the question, and then give warning, the last part of that question there, we need to also start the paragraphs a certain way there. So I'm going to write up some ways that we can do that, and then I'll come back and talk about that a little bit further. Okay, so as we can see, we've got some different points up for the next 2 paragraphs here. Obviously, the first thing that we want to do, once we've described the situation, is to provide some possible solutions. In a formal letter, and especially something that's about complaining or about talking about a problem, it's very important that we try and provide some possible solutions in here. So a couple of ways that we can start this paragraph is we can use this. It's my hope that, or it's my goal that, or I would like to suggest. And by using these two sentences, or one of these sentences, it then leads us into providing some possible options. And when we're doing a formal letter, this is where we need to be a little bit creative. So we need to think about what are some possible solutions that we could use to make sure that we get this disputed bond back. And then once we've provided those possible solutions, it's important for us then to go into this next paragraph. Because obviously, while we want to be nice in the letter, we still want to get our money back. And that's the whole point of this disputed bond. So we then need to have this paragraph here, which provides warning that if these solutions are not going to happen, well, further action will be necessary. So we can use a sentence like this. If this is not possible, I must inform you that it will be necessary to, or it will be vital to, something that lets them know that this is a very serious situation. And if our solutions are not met or they disagree with them, then we're going to have to take further legal action with that. So this is a serious paragraph, and so we want to use polite language, but also make it direct. Now, when we come down to the final paragraph, we basically want to summarize the letter, but we also want to give some ownership to the receiver of the letter, which is the real estate agent. So I'm going to write down some points for that, and then when I come back, we'll talk about that a little bit further again. Okay, so here we can see the final statement, which is a very important paragraph to finish the formal letter. And we can just do it with one sentence, actually. Sometimes we can use two sentences if we want to, but just having something like, I hope, or I trust that this issue can be resolved promptly, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you soon. So something like that can be very useful. And the reason why I've used this word trust is because it is very formal, but up here, we've also used the word hope already. So if we want to get a high score in writing, it's very important to try and use synonyms if we can, and particularly higher level vocabulary. So these words, hope and trust, are definitely words that we can use for that. Now, if we look at this side, basically, this is the way the letter should look. We want to start with the dear sir, madam, or to whom it may concern, and then leave a line. That is so important to make your paragraphs clear. Then in the first paragraph, we introduce ourselves, and then leave another line between the paragraph. The second paragraph, talk about the situation, and again, it is very important, we can put these two together. Once again, leave another line, describe some possible solutions here, and then finally, in this section, we want to say what's going to happen if the solutions are not met, and then finally, we can put that last sentence about hoping that things can get resolved promptly. But with a letter, especially with a formal letter, it's important to use something like yours faithfully at the end. Again, leave a line between this paragraph and yours faithfully, and then another line after that, and put your name. So that's how the formal letter should look. And if we follow that, then our structure will certainly be okay. So that's the formal letter, and in the future, come back for another video when we look at how to do the informal letter as well.